Hey YouTube, and welcome to another part of Psychics 101. Today I will be covering the spells and traps that have been released as support for the Psychic monsters. I have 5 cards in front of me and a 6th one that I'm going to talk about. And really those are the only 6 cards that are even practically somewhat useful support that Psychics have gotten over the past, existence of Yu-Gi-Oh! They do get a couple more in the next set. A couple of them to go take a look at is the Psychic Field Zone and Brain Hazard. So if you don't know what those do, go ahead and check those out on it from Extreme Victory. The first card I'm going to be talking about with the popularization of Gravekeepers and Necro Valley, you have a whole bunch of decks that are trying to run field spells. You have the Dragoonity decks with Dragon's Ravine coming out. There's a lot of decks right now that are trying to utilize field spells, such as a Legendary Ocean and, maybe even like Pandemonium and stuff, just for the gimmick play and whatnot. And they're fun to use because they weren't usually used before, but they have nice continuous effects that help. So the Psychic's continuous field spell is Brain Research Lab. Card's pretty good. When once per turn, you can have an extra normal summon of a Psychic monster. You got to put a counter on the card, and then also every time that you're going to pay for the effect of a Psychic monster, you can add 1 counter to this card to not have to pay those life points. Now the detriment to the card is when the card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you then lose life points in 1,000-point increments equal to the number of the counters on the card. So it's a really high risk, high reward kind of card. It is a very good card, but just the idea that MST, a single MST after a whole Mind Master loop or something like that can screw you over and make you lose the game, or you play your Brain Research Lab and then they hit their Necro Valley or Dragon's Ravine next turn, and you take 1,000 and a -1. So, Brain Research Lab is one of those cards to keep in your binders. It's a really good card for Psychics. However, just the meta right now is just not in favor of it. The next card I'm going to talk about is one that I don't have on me right now, and it's Psychic Overload. It's a trap card where you shuffle 3 Psychics from your graveyard into your deck and draw 2 cards. So essentially, it's a slower Pot of Avarice. It's a good card. It's an easy +1, and also you can recycle your monsters if you want to toolbox them out again with Mind Master or for whatever reason. It's a good card. It's some good support. It's not going to be used very much just because of the next card I'm going to cover is better with the Extreme Victory monsters, but it's definitely solid support that needs to be considered depending on what kind of Psychic you build. The next card is Psychic Trigger. This card hasn't seen much play in Psychic decks in the past, but it's going to get a lot more play with the new Psychic monsters, and because it removes 2 Psychic monsters from your graveyard, which trigger the Extreme Victory monsters' effects or fuel them, and lets you draw 2 cards if your life points are lower than your opponent's. Now, it does have the stipulation of having to have lower life points than your opponent, but in all honesty, it's really not that big of a deal. Numerous Psychic monsters are out where you lower your life points and whatnot, and you can easily activate this card. It's easy card draw. It feels up your Extreme Victory Psychics for their effects to go off. Like I said, the life point thing is really not the big of a deal. You're going to be losing life points. You can activate this card, draw your 2 cards, feel your graveyard and your future plays, and then gain your life points back with Psychic Synchro monsters and whatnot. So Psychic Trigger, definitely going to be playing probably 2 in future Extreme Victory Psychic monster decks. Next one, going to go over the trap, Mind Over Matter. Now this card gets a lot of comparisons to stuff like Gladiator Beast, War Chariot, and maybe even like Saber Hole and stuff like that. It is a counter trap. Not a lot of stuff can obviously counter a counter trap. So in that sense, it's really good. You tribute 1 Psychic monster, and you can negate the normal or special summon of a monster, as well as the activation of a trap or spell card. Now, this card has a lot more versatility than something like Saber Hole or Gladiator's Beast, War Chariot. But at the same time, you have to tribute one of your monsters. It's automatically a 2-for-1. which isn't a bad thing. As long as you're able to maintain the field presence. Sometimes you want those psychic monsters in the graveyard so you can activate something like Psychic Trigger, or you want to send your Extreme Victory guys to the graveyard in order to gain their effects. But Mind of Matter, good card. Definitely at least sideboard material in order to just have an all-around out to a lot of things. Next card I'm going to cover is the spell card Telekinetic Power Well. This card is amazing. Essentially, it's Monster Reborn from your graveyard for life point increment payments. You pay 300 for each level of monsters that you revive. You can revive 5 monsters if you have 2-star or lower monsters in your graveyard. You can revive up to 5 monsters. It creates just tons of synchro plays. It creates fuel in order to tribute for your Overdrive Teleporter. It creates fuel for your Mind Master. If you needed the extra psychic, you can normal summon Mind Master and then Telekinetic Power Well a couple guys out so that you can then start your loop shenanigans with Mind Master. Telekinetic Power Well is also great because it acts as defense if you need it. You got that Kraybons in the graveyard. Activate Power Well. It's a quick play. You bring out your Kraybons and you have a wall for a turn. So Telekinetic Power Well is really good. Just the thing is, you got to feel the graveyard for it. So if you can feel the graveyard for it adequately, there's no reason not to run 2 of these at least. Last but not least, the card that everyone knows. It's the jump start of the Psychic Engine. It is limited to 1. People think reinforcements to the army is good. They're sadly mistaken, because this card, Emergency Teleport, is just that much better. You can bring out any Psychic level 3 or lower from your hand or deck to the field, and during the end phase, remove that monster. The backside of the effect doesn't even matter. Just because the monster is usually gone because you're going to synchro with it, or you can use it for Mind Master bait or whatnot. Mind Master bait. Anyways, again, it's like Power Well. It's quick play. You can get that 1-turn defense if that's what you really need to live. It's just an overall versatile card. A lot of people thought this card was going to come back to 2, with the ban list and whatnot, just because, it hasn't been seeing as much play as it probably could have. But it's just too good. It just sets up so many plays. It even gets you a tribute fodder if you really need it for an Overdrive Teleporter. It goes the mile. It does everything that you need. So yeah, those are the couple of cards that I picked out from Psychic, Spell, and Trap support. There are a couple more, there are actually quite a few more cards that have been released to support them. However, they're not really that good. It's not really worth your time. A lot of them have to do with, gaining life points, and, in my opinion and in many other people's opinions, your life points don't matter as long as you can pay the cost for something or you're not hitting 0. So if you're at 2100 life points, you can play your Overdrive Teleporter. There's really no difference between being at 2100 and being at 8000. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, lots of life gain support that they've gotten in the past. That it's just really not worth the -1 when your Psychic Synchros and stuff is a big body on the field maintaining field presence, but also is gaining you the life points that you have lost in the past with Mind Master or something like Telekinetic Power Well or whatnot. That's going to do it for this episode of Psychics 101. I'm looking to run Psychics at Anaheim. To be completely honest with you, I don't know if they're quite up to par yet. Until they get their Extreme Victory support. Not being able to have the constant pluses and floaters really hurts them, which that support in Extreme Victory gives us. I'll probably be running some sort of chaos version of Psychics just to say that I'm running the deck and just to get a better feel for it in a major tournament play, which I haven't been able to do. So yeah, I'll probably post that before SJC Anaheim comes around. So keep an eye out for that. Please give me a thumbs up for this video if you liked it, and please subscribe. Thanks again, YouTube.